Tēnā tātou katoa. Welcome to today's session for Mental Health Awareness Week. I'm Gina Nonomalo. I'm the Head of Delivery at Ignite Aotearoa, and we're really happy to be supporting the kaupapa of Take Time to Kōrero. A little chat can go a long way. And joining me for a kōrero today is Helena McIntyre, who is a coach with Ignite. Welcome, Helena. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Helena. I'm based down in Christchurch and I work as an empowerment coach and stylist. My passion is working with the gender diverse. However, I work across the board. It makes my heart sing to see people experience changes by things that are really simple and they just didn't know that was there. So that's what I'm about, working with people to look good and feel good every day.
Awesome. Thanks, Helena. This topic that we are talking about today, we've called it Out of Your Ugg Boots, Presentation and Wellbeing. What does how we dress actually have to do with mental health and wellbeing?
It's really interesting, isn't it? So these are all my opinions, but how we show up in the world is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. So for me, Ugg boots are fine, staying in your PJs are fine, but it's just how we dress sets the scene for the day. So if you're having a PJ day, an Ugg boot day, great. But if we're talking about our environment in our working from home situation, staying every day in our PJs can mean that we're kind of stuck in one place. We may be out of routine, we're not eating well, we're not exercising, we're kind of doing that, just mucking about at home, opposed to if we get ourselves up and dressed, showered, and even, let's put it the other way around, showered and dressed, you're starting your day, and it means you can still put your comfy clothes on, but you've sort of set the scene for where you're going to be. And when you feel good, we feel happy. And when we are happy, we feel more motivated. We're open to exploring new things. We're open to the change, and we have more awareness of opportunities. So in a package in itself, sure, it's good to have those casual days, but also think about where you want to be for yourself.
I think it's natural that we kind of gravitate to talking about lockdown and working from home in the current environment. What have you noticed about how people have been presenting themselves during lockdown, or whichever level people are in?
Yeah, it's I know for myself, I've changed my clothes more during lockdown because I'm working from home. I'm, getting myself ready for a Zoom call, and I kind of have my work clothes and my home clothes. So that's what I've noticed for myself. But one of the big things that I've noticed is when going out, I've had to actually retrain my brain, because I'm looking at people with a mask on, and with the mask, we're not getting the subtle gestures. So when somebody smiles at us, often it's the whole face that lights up, and now we're having to distinguish just the eyes, maybe smile lines. Look, we don't want to know about smile lines, but we have them. So one of the things that I find is that without realizing it, when we look, first impressions count, we're looking at people in another light. So you're almost not looking at their clothes, we're wanting to connect and have that connection.
That's a really interesting point, Helena. And I've noticed that myself, that I'm really trying to look at people's eyes to work out how they're responding to me, because as you say, usually we see the whole face and we get that connection. And it is a little different when we're out and about, even though we might be face to face. It's a very different experience.
Yeah.
I was really interested, you touched on something also then around having work clothes and home clothes. And that's something that I personally do. But this is not just about me. Could you talk a little bit about why you might do that. What is the benefit that you see in having home clothes and work clothes?
So I'll talk for myself, my experience. I think when we were younger, we had a school uniform. So we kind of, to go and play outside, being brought up on the farm, we had to get out of our school uniform. So whether it's a habit that's just been created, but I sort of have, when I come home, if I start in the garden, I don't want to be wearing my work clothes in the garden because they're probably a little bit better than my gardening clothes. But I think it's just a sense that I've switched off from work as well. Like I've come home or I've finished for the day and now I'm on to what I'm doing next. So there's that feeling for me that that's where it is. On the other side too, for a lot of people, if they're wearing their work clothes and stay in their work clothes, and especially cooking smells can sit in your clothes. So if you're living and cooking in your work clothes and then you go to put them on the next day, then you might have the cooking smells. So keeping your clothes fresh, different fabrics, we've got so many different fabrics now, so really important that like a silk shirt or a linen shirt is very different to like a cotton pair of shorts if you're going out in the garden. So just being aware of that.
That's some great advice. When our routines change, such as, for example, how a lot of us are maybe working from home currently, or we have been recently, why is how we dress important?
Again, it's dress for the outcome that you want to achieve is really keeping it simple. So really important that you're looking after yourself. Like, how are you feeling? Like, it's about being in tune with yourself. If I find often if I'm having an off day, if I do just get up, have a shower and put something on, and whether it's from a female's perspective, you might be putting on a bit of makeup, doing your hair, you always feel better. It's not about having to get dressed up to the nines. When we feel good, when we look good, we feel good about ourselves. And then the better that we look, the happier we are. And when we're happy, we're more confident, we're more motivated, we're more open to approach, we're open to trying something new. And most importantly, it allows you to express yourself creatively. So that's rather than just putting on the same old, or trying to hide where you're at.
When we were talking before about the lockdown and the impact of working from home, are there any differences that you've noticed between this year and last year?
Well, even though this is sort of the country's second time, it doesn't make it any easier. But for a lot of people, for a lot of us, we like routine. Routine works well. So for the experience of last time, people could adjust it faster to it. One of the big impacts was that we were in the middle of winter or just coming out of winter. So we were more housebound. The first lockdown, if you talk to many people, they loved it because they were out in the garden. They got a lot of jobs done. You could go out and walk and have that indoor-outdoor flow. So what's happened for this time is that the weather, more cabin fever, I've heard, people just needing the kids to go out and play, and just job loss, financial stress. So the same things, it's just maybe in some cases we've just had we've experienced it before, so that we know how we can make it work for us and the family, and maybe tweak it again even better from a business perspective.
Awesome. And Helena, before you mentioned about dressing for the outcome that we want to achieve, and so I guess what I wanted to ask you is a little bit more about that, and really what are the things that we should be thinking about when we get dressed in the morning?
Well, if your day is, as I said at the beginning, I've probably changed so many days. Like I get up and I do some exercise. So I'll have my exercise gear, my sneakers on. If I've got working from home, I've got a couple of appointments. Well, then I'm showered and then I'm dressed for my appointments. And then when my day finishes, I've got some free time. So that might be some time spent in the garden, or I might have an errand to run. So I'm kind of dressing for what's going to suit me for the day. It doesn't mean that I'm changing a lot, but just being aware of what does my day look like, what's my routine, and what do I need for myself to support me for that day, and how am I going to dress for it?
Awesome. Do you have any top tips to help people feel their best?
That's a huge question. It's always the how, isn't it? Yeah. So for me, over the years, the simplicity is grow your own wellbeing bank account. Why do you think the airline tells you to put the mask on you first? And unfortunately, in our lives, we tend to be, we leave ourselves out. We put everyone else first. So simple things like sleep. Sleep deprivation has a huge impact on people's wellness. So are we sleeping at night? Exercise, like making sure we exercise. And that doesn't mean having to go to the gym and have a really hard workout. It may just be going out for a walk around the block and just leaving everything behind and thinking about what is it for me. Food's incredibly important. Our body is our vehicle. So it's not what you eat some of the time, it's what you eat most of the time. So making sure that you fuel yourself from that side. The stinking thinking, like think about your language, what we use, how we feel, like we can, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't. Either way, you're right. Social connections are incredibly important during this time. Like a lot of people live on their own and in this feeling isolated. So picking up the phone and connecting with people who you know that live on their own, that even though they may come across as being okay. And one of the biggest things, so here's a tip for everybody, gratitude. So at home, start a gratitude jar. Every day, put the date and put 3 things in there, like the date, what you're grateful for and why. And then it's a great family thing. Every couple of weeks, every week, some people do it once a month. Sit down and go into the jar and read them out. It's amazing how it can shift your perspective to being grateful and how we're thinking. It changes a lot.
Thank you, Helena.